What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be bringing back a series that I haven't done in quite a few months, and that's 3 stocks that I am buying for the month of November. And with the recent weakness that we've seen since about September, this has created some good buying opportunities for many stocks. And these 3 stocks that I'm going to be talking about today are all stocks that I have been buying heavy over the past really month since the beginning of October. And just in general, all 3 of these companies operate in different industries, and all 3 industries are poised to grow significantly over the next 5 to 10 years. And on top of that, I've got one stock at the end of the video that I just recently added to my growth portfolio, so be sure to stick around to find out what that stock is. Now, as the title suggests, these are 3 stocks that I am actually buying, so I am putting my money where my mouth is, and I am really bullish on all of these stocks, really. So this is a video that I am super excited to bring back to the channel, and if you want me to continue this series, be sure to let me know down in the comment section, or you can smash that like button because that works just as good. Now, real quick, before we get into the video, I do want to let you guys know what is coming down the pipeline from a content standpoint. So my next 2 videos are going to be covering Cloudflare's Q3 earnings because they are reporting on Thursday after the closing bell. And then Nextech is also reporting their earnings and having their earnings call on Thursday as well. So over the weekend, I'm going to be working on those 2 videos. And if you guys want to be notified when those videos drop, be sure to click that subscribe button and turn on the bell notifications so you don't miss a single video. And with that, let's get into the 3 stocks that I am buying in November. So as you all know by now, I am super bullish on Nextech AR Solutions, and I really feel that they're going to be a massive company over the next 5 years. And if you guys want to learn more about this company, be sure to check out the playlist linked above because I've already done about 4 or 5 videos on them. So there's a lot of information in that playlist, so be sure to check that out. Now, as the name suggests, this is a company that operates within the augmented reality industry, and they have a whole suite of products that are geared towards providing AR solutions to just about any business. Now, their 4 main business segments consist of the Inferno AR platform, which provides organizations and businesses with a virtual conferencing solution that integrates augmented reality technology. They also have their ARitize for e-commerce product, which enables online shop owners to transform traditional 2D images into augmented reality products that users can bring into the real world to look at before purchasing. Then they also have the ARitize 3D and AR advertising platforms, which enables businesses to use their AR technology with online ads, very similar to the e-commerce business segment. And lastly is their ARitize for Hollywood studios, which will make augmented reality the primary display function for viewers. Now, of these 4 business verticals, the one that I am most excited about is the Inferno AR platform, and here is why. In Q3, Nextech saw their revenue grow by 331% year over year, bringing their total Q3 bookings to almost $7 million, which is already way more than the $6 million they did for the entire year in 2019. And the majority of the revenue growth that they're seeing right now is coming from the massive adoption we're seeing in the Inferno AR platform as more and more organizations are choosing their platform to host virtual conferences. In just the last month, Nextech has announced they will be taking Canada's largest food service trade show completely virtual. They will also be hosting the first ever virtual TEDx conference. And they also just announced that they'll be hosting UNESCO's High-Level Futures Literacy Summit, which will have about 80 interactive booths that participants will be able to interact with from the comfort of their own home. Now, to top all of this off, it was also announced that the Inferno AR platform is now expanding sales to USA and international government contracts, which is massive because current US government spending through GSA schedules, which is what Nextech was approved for, sits at around $30 billion, so there is clearly a lot of money to be had from good old Uncle Sam. Now, with all of the recent press releases that Nextech has been putting out, I believe that Q4 revenue will grow anywhere from 80 to 100% over Q3. But the important part of this is that if they can grow 80 to 100% in Q4, this should put their full year 2020 revenue somewhere between $23 and $25 million. Now, the crazy part is that would indicate more than 300% revenue growth from full year 2019 to full year 2020. Now, I challenge any of you guys watching this video to go out there and find me another company that's growing at more than 300% with the future potential that this one has, because that's far and few between, and that is why I am so bullish on this stock. And if you guys want to do your own due diligence, they trade under the ticker symbol NEXCF, and they currently trade on the OTC markets, which means, unfortunately, anybody that's a Robinhood investor does not have access to this stock yet. But the good news is they did apply to uplist to the NASDAQ. And if that happens, that'll open up the doors to pretty much any investor, no matter which platform you're on. So be sure to stay tuned, because once that's announced, you can be sure that I will be covering it. So with that being said, let's get into the second stock in today's video. So DraftKings is another stock that's been covered quite a bit on the channel, and I have been a heavy buyer of this stock as it's fallen almost 40% from its all-time high just a month ago of about $64.19. Now, as I'm sure most people know, DraftKings is a mobile sportsbook and daily fantasy provider that allows users to place bets on games in a variety of ways. Now, the reason I have been so bullish on DraftKings is because I do believe they will emerge as the biggest company within this industry in terms of market share. And I would say that their biggest competitors are Flutter Entertainment, which owns FanDuel, and Penn National Gaming, which just recently acquired a 36% ownership position in Barstool Sports. Now, obviously, this is significant competition, but when you look at the partnerships DraftKings has landed over the last several weeks, it's hard to argue that they won't become the #1 player in online daily fantasy and sportsbook games. So just over the last couple months, DraftKings has announced partnerships with ESPN, which will now allow them to get exposure on the biggest sports news network that there is. I mean, when anyone thinks of sports networks, even if they aren't a sports fan, the first one that comes to mind is always ESPN. Now, in addition to this, they also landed another partnership with Turner Sports, which also owns Bleacher Report, and this just adds to the growing list of media outlets that will now be pushing DraftKings platform across their channels. And what makes the case even stronger for DraftKings is the fact that they have also landed several agreements with major sports teams like the Chicago Cubs, the Colorado Rockies, the New York Giants, and the Philadelphia Eagles, and with this comes even more brand exposure through the actual stadiums. Now, analysts currently have DraftKings revenues growing by a whopping 46% next year, which definitely puts them in the high growth category. And I personally feel that this trend will continue over the next 5 years as more and more states begin passing new legislation to bring sports betting to their respective states. Now, as you can see from this map, there's still roughly 17 states with active mobile legislation being considered, and another 12 states that don't even have active legislation on the books yet. So combine this, and that's more than half the United States that doesn't have legal online sports betting yet. So essentially, DraftKings only has half the market that they could potentially have in the future. Now, of course, this isn't a long enough video to give you guys a full depth analysis of DraftKings, but again, I have covered it quite a bit on the channel, so I'll link a playlist up here in the corner, so check that out if you want to learn more about all these partnerships, because again, I cover all of them in those videos. So AMD is actually the most recent addition to my growth portfolio, and for many reasons, some of which we'll get into in this video, but I won't be able to cover my full bullish thesis. So if you guys want to see a video on AMD, let me know down in the comment section and I will happily do that. Now, overall, I think AMD has a bright future ahead of them. I mean, there's a reason why they went from a $2 stock a couple years ago to a $100 stock just recently. And for anybody that got in at that $2 level, that's a perfect example of a long-term investor having patience and really letting a business and the executive team execute on their plan. Now, looking at AMD's stock performance, we can see that they are off about 17% from their all-time high back in September and are currently trading at about $81 a share after a massive 6% upward move today. So it's still pretty close to that all-time high, but this this comes after the massive run up of more than 100% over the last year. So getting into what they actually do, if we look at AMD's business from a high level overview, it can really be broken into three main segments. You've got the data centers segment, which has a total addressable market of roughly $35 billion, PCs with another $32 billion in TAM, and finally gaming, which has a TAM of about $12 billion. Now this doesn't include the total addressable market that Xilinx has, which is roughly $30 billion. So put this all together and AMD has a current TAM of roughly $110 billion, which is just massive. Now turning to their most recent Q3 financial numbers, we can see revenue grew to $2.8 billion, which is an increase of 56% year over year and 45% quarter over quarter, which is just absolutely crazy when you think of how big AMD is already. Now gross margins were mostly flat and remained at about 44%, which is still pretty good. And this translated well when it comes to profitability, with GAAP net income coming in at about $390 million. Now, one thing I really liked from their most recent quarter is that net income grew 225% year over year and 148% quarter over quarter. So the profits are really starting to roll in. And I believe this is a positive trend that will continue, especially with the recent acquisition of Xilinx, which brings with it a gross margin of more than 70% on $3 billion of revenue. And one thing that has really helped AMD grow into the company that they are today and really help them go from $2 to $80 is the constant reinvestment into research and development. When you're in the industry that they operate in, you have to constantly be innovating your products to compete with the likes of Intel and Nvidia, and this is something that they have executed perfectly on. Now, you can't reinvest into research and development unless you have a healthy cash flow and balance sheet, and when you look at AMD's, they have almost $1.8 billion in cash and short-term investments with less than $400 million in total debt. Now, that's a pretty healthy multiple when you look at the cash to debt ratio, and that's something that gives me peace of mind if we do go into another economic scenario where money velocity drops off significantly, because I know they have enough cash to cover any short-term debt. Now, in addition to this, like I mentioned, they also have a healthy free cash flow of more than $250 million. So there's no scenario where I see this company even coming close to going bankrupt, even in a worst case scenario. Now, I know I didn't go too in depth on the three stocks covered today, but if you want to see a more in-depth analysis, let me know down in the comment section and I could definitely do that for you guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you did, be sure to drop a like and let me know in the comment section which stock out of these three are your favorite. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell notifications to be notified every time I drop a video. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching and I will catch you on the next one.